Hi, everyone. My name is Ash, and we are here to talk about South Asian LGBTQIA plus community. I am based in Melbourne, Australia. So before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people who are the traditional custodians of this land. I would also like to pay respect to the elders, both past and present, of the Kulin Nation, and extend that respect to other Indigenous Australians present among us today. A bit about me: I'm a software engineer by trade, but also very much a part of the LGBTQIA community. I'm very passionate about increasing our representation and visibility in the South Asian community. A lot of people think that being homosexual, transgender, or queer is in any way is a Western concept. At least that's my experience. But actually, we exist in every culture, in every race, and as long as humanity has existed. So, hopefully, as we share our experiences and stories today, I hope that some of the people watching will leave here with more knowledge and acceptance in their heart. Um, as you can see, we have four people here today joining us as panelists. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, starting with Sneha. Sneha, do you want to introduce yourself? You're on mute, sorry.
Hello everyone, my name is Sneha Sopti and my pronouns are she and her. I identify as a woman. I'm an electrical engineer by profession and an advocate by choice. I moved to Australia 3 years ago from India. I'm passionate about social impact, especially LGBTQ plus and women's rights because they are human rights. My life is greatly marked by two worlds. The first 30 years, living in denial and as per societal expectations, being the good Indian girl. And now, from the last 2 years, living an authentic life and really my happiest life. Last year in lockdown, I came out to my mum and brother. And this year, I started a pride group at my workplace and a blog now to share my journey navigating life as a queer, migrant, South Asian woman living in Australia and rebuilding my life. And I do that in the hope that it may help someone else struggling in silence, like I once did 3 years ago. Thank you.
Deepak, would you like to introduce yourself now?
Sure. Thank you very much, Sneha. And Ash, my name is Deepak. Um, I live with my partner and my two little dogs nearby in the area. I've had a very interesting corporate life and had the chance to live and work across the world. I came to Australia about 32 years ago. And at that time, there wasn't much of a Southeast Asian diaspora, no visibility at that point. And so it was a bit difficult to come out at that point, but we did because, as Sneha was saying, that was the only way to lead a proper, authentic life. Without that, it would have been a forced life. Um, and yes, life has been full of many interesting challenges, whether it's been family or friends or work colleagues. But we've overcome them all. And interestingly, when I early days in when I came to Australia. So literally about 25 years ago, we actually also started a then international group called Recode, which is still existing in different forms. But that time it started off in US. And we found chapters everywhere, and I was part of the Australian chapter. So there's a lot of history there as well, regardless of what people might think that this is something new or there's more visibility. But like Asne, I was saying, we've always been around, no matter what culture and what age. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Govind, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Ash, and everyone else. My name is Govind Pillai, and I am a classical Indian dancer as well as a director at Ernst& Young. And I also work a lot in the classical Indian arts. My background is very much in a very spiritual and warm family life, which I found very, very difficult growing up in, being a queer person. So much like Sneha, I have two parts of my life. One where struggling to reconcile with it, and today living very much who I am and who I like to be. And that new person that I am is a person that lives with my husband, who I've known for 13 years. We have a daughter who's 2 years old. and we got married in 2015. Outside of my work and my art work, I work a fair bit in feminist advocacy. I'm a strong feminist, as well as work a lot with helping young queer people identify how they can reconcile who they are, both in terms of sexuality but also culture.
Yeah. Wow, that is amazing. Mani, would you like to go?
Yes, definitely. So I am, though not from the community, but I do have a daughter who belongs to your group, and she is 20 years old. I myself, I work in the bank, CBA, and I have a YouTube channel called Bindas Baatein. I think that is how Ash and Saleha all got in touch with me, sort of, because I had made a video about my daughter at the time that she came out and how what it was and how it was, and maybe, and of course, I'm a big supporter of independent living and being yourself, and not being judged by anybody. I just do not like the fact where people come and ask questions and treat you differently. And that's where I come in. I'm the most accepting parent.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, no doubt. Thank you guys for that amazing introduction. I'm so excited to explore this more. Um, so it's really great that you guys came out to share your experience. So I guess I want to start with the fundamental question that we all get asked, which is, how did you know? How did you know you were gay? When did you find out? So Deepak, would you like to answer that first?
Sure, I can. Look, I think I just knew, and look, I am the only son in from a very traditional Punjabi background. My birth, I'm told, and I've been told many times, was after my three sisters, and they had to pray to the goddess Vaishno Devi for a son. And I always joke with them that they never prayed for a straight son; they just prayed for a son. So they got me, and it turned out to be that I'm gay. But look, all that aside, as you can imagine, after three daughters, my coming along, the kind of upbringing that I've had, it was not easy. I kind of knew about myself growing up, and it's about what sort of crush you have on whom. Film actors, Vinod Khanna, I used to love. So you kind of know, but nevertheless, because when I was growing up, there was absolutely no role models at all in India. At least for me, it was never. I never thought myself as gay. It was something that I did not have in my head that that's who I am. But I knew that I was attracted to men,
Hmm.
and I think that was for me. And then when I moved to Australia, I initially came for my studies and I ended up staying here. And I think a big reason for that was not only I wanted a different life for myself, but more importantly, I knew that I could be only true to myself here, where I could see, I could go to a gay club. And for me, I took that foray. It wasn't easy. And I think it's about knowing yourself. You got to be strong about it to actually give that a go as well. And I did. And as soon as I did, I realized that that's who I was. And I have to say I'm lucky in the sense that I was confident. I wasn't racked by doubt. I mean, there's many people who vacillate, keep themselves in dark, and there's all sorts of reasons, some very good reasons for that as well. And I was lucky in that sense that I actually, once I took a foray and started, looking at my own sexuality, and I made up my mind that that was it. And then from there on, I've dealt with just about whatever has come into my life, but having been steadfast because I just simply knew that lying to myself, I would not be a happy person at all, and neither would I be able to extend any happiness or prosperity, no matter to whom. I mean, to the extent that I mean, and perhaps we will touch that, but I was living in Melbourne. My parents were looking for girls for me in Melbourne. I would get calls from people saying, "Hey, your parents have rung you up. Did you want to come and meet and come and have dinner with us?" And I would say outright, "No." I've had three sisters, and I've seen the marriage. Should I say? uh, farcical sometimes, things that go on when guys come and look at you and or to a girl and then they reject. It just was a horrible experience. And once I knew that I was gay, I thought, no, I am not doing that. I'm not putting anyone, least alone myself, or a poor unsuspecting girl or a family into any of that sort. So look,
Yeah.
it's a journey. I can't say it's even finished by now. It certainly hasn't. But I couldn't have chosen any other path. If any other path would have led me down to something that I couldn't have lived with myself at all on that.
Yeah, absolutely. That, and it's been a long time since then, right? I would be very yeah, I would be very curious to know, Sneha, what your point of view is. How did you know? Because I think that happened quite recently, compared to Deepak, right?
Yeah, that's true, Ash. So it's funny. Now when I look back, I feel I've been gay all through my life. But the first 30 years of my life, I actually grew up, living up to the ideals of being the good Indian girl, listening to my parents, teachers in a convent school, listening to my society on what I was supposed to do, what I was supposed to study, do, look like, be like. And then, when I had even my first girlfriend, she actually went ahead and got married to a man because her family wanted that. And I was heartbroken for years. And
Yeah,
even then, I lived in such denial that it did not strike me at all that, I wanted to live with a woman. I was still so engrossed in living up to society's expectations that I'm a woman and I need to find a man. Maybe I've not found the right man. Like, find a
yeah,
man, get married, have kids. That's my life.
yeah,
And I actually went on coffee dates, and my mom did a great job looking up good profiles of people. But, I would go on these coffee dates with men, good fellows, but I would go and befriend them and come back. And I just had no inclination to be in contact with them.
mm,
And it was only when, I was leaving India to move to Australia, it hit me suddenly when I had packed my bags that I have everything literally that I have dreamt of, and I'm not happy. And I made a phone call to my first girlfriend, and I thought that would settle it. Maybe it was just that. But I didn't know I was opening a Pandora's box. But my therapist was actually the first person, the first human being, really, whom I told my feelings. And I still remember how I told her that, I had a close friend and she got married, and I was heartbroken. Like, I had no idea we were partners. I was in such denial. And then my therapist said that, Sneha, she wasn't your friend, she was your partner. And I was like, no, I can't be that. Society has told me I have to find a man. That's what I'm here to do. But then that started the process really of looking back and reflecting on my life. And I was amazed. All my closest relationships have been with women.
mm,
I've been great friends with men, but I have had no inclination um, to, develop a close bond with them.
mm,
And it's a human need to have connections, love, and belonging with other people. And that's really the criteria. Whom do you pay attention to in a close bond? And I thought
mm,
it was just women. It had been women all my life. So when I moved to Australia, I looked up support groups. And when I listened to stories of other people, it's funny how unique each one of our stories is. But in one way or the other, the underlying theme or the thread joining them is of the same pain, love, belonging, connection, and ultimately acceptance of ourselves and
yeah,
acceptance from our family and society in general. And it was only last year in lockdown I decided I'm totally comfortable with myself. I have come out to my friends. It was time I came out to my family.
mm,
And I really had my safety net on, and I had reached a place of high self acceptance wherein it did not really um, become a deal breaker for me? What if my family did not support me? Even till this date, let me tell you, living life is is great, but then it becomes really difficult navigating coming out because it's not a one-time thing, right? When you tell someone about your sexuality, there is a chance that that person may have internalized homophobia or may not be able to accept this fact, and you may end up losing that relationship with that person. But I had reached a point where I was like, either I live my life as per society and
Mm.
remain sad all my life, or I choose to live my life true to myself, say and do things that I really want to do because it is my life and I've got just one human life. Why not live it from my heart?
Wow, that's powerful, Sneha. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, but I think I totally identify with your story as well. Govind, would you? I think you grew up here, so I think your experience has been a little bit different. So how did you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's such an interesting question. I love hearing everyone's stories because they're so different, but like Sneha says, so common threads that I relate to. For me,
Yeah.
I really knew from a very, very young age. So I was perhaps 9 or 10, and I was always interested in spending time with boys, and I really yearned their affection, you know. So in a way that a like a sub-teenage child might, you know, I just wanted more attention from, the nice boys in the class that had a lovely personality or something I was attracted to. I wanted to spend more time with them. No words to describe what this is yet, in my language, not in my heart, not in my mind, nothing to describe this yet. This is my experience. So that's a 9-year old, 10-year old. And as I get to my teenage years, of course, that grows into attraction and physical attraction. And it's very much centered around boys and men. Yet again, I have no words to describe it. I'm not sure. And when I was growing up as well, queer life was not seen very much on the TV or whatnot. So we didn't have a role model or something to compare it with. So I didn't know how to describe this. um, and I went on and on. But when I look back, I really know that I realized that I have known for such a long time.
Yeah.
But as I grew up, a lot of it was suppressed because with arranged marriage proposals and the idea that, oh, family life is, of course, a man and a woman. So, that is my feelings are obviously some childhood confusion. I must really understand that this is better for me and for, and kind of started going that path. But something I often say to people when they ask, "How did you know?" is that, and it connects with what you said, Ash, at the beginning. Like it's not just a white person phenomenon; it's also people of color have it. But it's also not just a human phenomenon.
Exactly.
Animals are also created with homosexual tendencies and also all sorts of different combinations of gender attraction. It's part of God's design that we are all created in a very different way. And so, people who are spiritual, if it helps you, that is one way to look at it, that we're all created differently, and every animal on this earth and every species has a manifestation of what we experience. But as
Mm.
humans, we have the mental ability and the societal ability to suppress that. Whereas many animals don't, and that is why we have this contention. So I kind of only realized that as a maybe 16 to 19-year old, and started realizing that, oh, it's the barriers that are holding me back from who I am. And who am I? So I think I knew for a very long time. And you know what? I'm still discovering
Yeah.
who I am and what my boundaries are, as with all of us, I think, in the world, we keep learning. So
Yeah. That is so interesting because I think I totally identify with your initial story about knowing knowing in your heart that you're attracted to you want attention from someone specific, and you're attracted to someone specific, but there's nothing to define it because the society around you hasn't given you a word for it, hasn't given you any representation. And I think money. I
Yes,
think you have a very different perspective here because your daughter is gay,
yes.
and how did you find out?
Okay, so my daughter and I, we have a very close bond. So I'm very close to both of my kids. I've got a son and a daughter. We're very, very close. So she discusses everything. And I'm a very open and broad minded person. Like you can see the way I am. Even if you go through my channel and the things that I talk about everything. Everybody, like my daughter's friends, and everybody would comment that your mother is very cool. She accepts everything. There's no problem with her. And they would present certain questions. Now, I'm not sure if the friends were coming with those questions or she herself was checking. So think about it, me, the way I am, still my daughter was not open, or she did not come out to me at an early stage. She came out to me when she was 19, so just 2 years ago.
Hmm.
She will be 21 this year. So 19 is the 19 years that she traveled was actually her own journey to accept herself first. Now, she
Yeah.
would come to me and she would ask me, Mama, because she was not liking boys at all, right? Throughout the school time, people have affairs, people have crushes, people have celebrity crushes. She used to have nothing, right? And she would come to me and say, Mama, I don't think I'm going to fall in love ever. So if I don't, would you be able to arrange marriage? I said, Of course. And I started looking for guys as well. Don't, like, seriously, my friends. And I'm thinking, okay, we are in Australia, so maybe a friend's son who's in America would be good for her. And I'm thinking, and I'm showing her pictures as well. In fact, I spoke to one of my friends as well, saying that, okay, why shouldn't we, let's put these two together. Let's work out and match them and do something, like something. And I told her as well, but she was not very excited about it. Never was she excited about boys or anything. Now when I think back, I feel the indication or the signs were always there. She would show, like how Sneha said, there was a girl in her life she never knew that was the partner. Similar, actually, episode happened with my daughter as well. When she was in year 2 or 3, there was a girl. She came back home and she used to cry and she would ask me, Mama, why can I not stand with her? Why is she not ready to hold my hand? Why can she not be with me? Why does she have to go with somebody else? And I said, Baba, it doesn't matter, because yes, she's not able to stand with you. Maybe she likes somebody else. You will find other friends, because at that time we could not define. But now when I look back, I know that, okay, these were small indications, which she never realized. Of course, I did not. So when she was 19, she got through, selected for NIDA. So she's um, trying to become an actress.
Hmm.
So she got selected in NIDAS, the National Institute of Dramatic Arts in Australia. So she started doing the course there. Now, because the atmosphere in NIDA is very open, and the artistic center is very different from the normal world, she sort of started searching for her own identity.
Hmm.
And she says in one of the games that they were playing in one of their parties, they were supposed to kiss each other, type, some sort of a game, who knows. And she was supposed to kiss a girl, and that was her first kiss ever. So she kisses this girl, and she suddenly realizes, oh my God, what is this? So she's still trying to define. And
Yeah.
then she decided, okay, I should tell my mom, maybe. So she came out as a bi. So I'm not sure about you all, but I notice a lot of homosexuals or a lot of lesbians and gays come out as bi first, because it's a very secure place to be in. So if you come out bi, the parents are, okay, it doesn't matter. You like girls, but you also like boys. So let's get you married. And things are all fine, because you also like boys. So that's how she came up to me. She said that she was bi. I said, like,
Yeah.
bi? Like, so you're attracted to both? She said, yes, I think I am. I said, okay, fine, fair enough. And then just after a few days, she came out again. She said, no, Mama, I think I'm lesbian. I said, okay, very good. One less man. I don't want too many men around me. I was happy. I said, I'm sick of these men. Annoying creatures. Good. I'm happy. And then she was the one who started crying. It was not me. So I was very happy and all content. We're sitting in the car outside. So I went to pick her up from the station, and we came back, and just the car is on a driveway, and we're sitting inside and talking before coming in. And she's crying and she's going, I said, why are you crying? All good. It doesn't matter. She said, no, I don't know. I think maybe because that was the time that she actually fully accepted herself. So that is
Yeah.
why she came out like that. The other thing which I noticed with her was, though I'm the way I am, she also had this. She still had the fear of being abandoned, because she was so close to me. She still thinks that everybody is different for the society. There is there is a facade for the people outside, and then the person could be very different inside the house. you know so if I'm
Yeah.
talking and I have this channel talking all cool things and talking about all the taboo subjects, saying, oh, I'm okay, I don't judge people, but who knows, the minute my daughter comes out, I'm out with my stick, boom, how dare you types. So she had this notion that, who knows, mama appears to be very cool, but what if I come out to her and she changes completely and she literally abandons me? That was the biggest fear, because we are so close and our bond is so strong. She thought, if that happens, how is she going to cope with that part?
Yeah.
And maybe that was also a reason why she took so long. But now she's out, she's fine, she's so happy. She changed, actually. She completely changed. So after she came out, she's much more confident. She is happier. She And again, because she also has a channel, so she came out and on a channel, so for the world, she deciding how to do it for everybody. She said, I can't do this, like every time you meet someone and in a subtle way you have to put this, oh, actually I'm a lesbian. Seriously. Everywhere you have to first think, oh, actually. Oh, actually, I said the best way is just do a YouTube channel, make
Yeah.
an episode, tell everybody, boom, all done in one go. Anybody who wants to go look at the channel. She is actually gay. So that's how it happened at my place. So now she's happy.
Yeah.
This is me, but then the other parts of the family, so my husband, my mother-in-law still doesn't know.
Yeah.
She still doesn't know. See, again, no harm. Who knows? Once, if she gets married while she is alive, then there'll be a question. Then we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Other than that, she's okay to be in dark. But the rest of
Mani,
the
that
family,
is so wonderful. I want you to be part of my family too.
I know I am. Like, as I told Ash, I said I could be everybody of yours, a part of
Oh,
you.
She's
If you
absolutely.
everybody's
need
mom.
support, call me. If you
I
need,
need a mom. Whoever needs a mom,
that's correct.
I can be.
In Australia, the South Asian mom. Yeah.
While we're on this topic, we got a few questions from the audience. And the first one is: people back in the homeland often think that being gay, or lesbian is a disease, which will be cured if they get that individual married to a person of the opposite sex. What is your opinion on this? I'm gonna open this question to the floor.
I would like to take that, please.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
coming from South Asian diaspora, there's so much of stigma and taboo really attached to so many things. Like these days, it is really easy. If there's any question or any query at all in someone's mind, you can easily Google and look up United Nations or Human Rights Campaign. I love to refer to United Nations, where they have stated it as a fact that being a homosexual is not a disease, being homophobic is. And there is no taboo anymore with regards to any identity. And I would also like to say that we human beings are sexual beings, and our sexuality and gender expression is actually fluid, and it's been published in research now across the world. So it's not that even I'm like, yeah, I was bi curious. Now I identify as a lesbian, and who knows, like few years down the line, I may identify as bisexual. And I want to be open to everything and anything because it is really fluid, and science proves it.
Mm.
So
I
to
would
answer the question, no, it's not a disease at all. Being gay is not a disease at all.
Absolutely. I would also like to add to that a little bit that you can get someone married, you can force someone into a marriage, but then you're destroying both of their lives. So please don't do that. And
And
it's
I
not.
would like,
It's not a.
sorry.
Sorry. Yes, go, Mani, go.
Now, I just wanted to say that people, when uh, being a disease or not, so when you can, as you said, you can get married, the females to the males or whatever, the satisfaction, there is a possibility the female might never realize that, why is she not enjoying the companionship? Why is she not on the same page with the, see, now the awareness is quite a lot, like people know about things. But then from the time that I come, so if I want to define my sexual, I don't know. I have no idea. Because we had no idea at that time. We were just growing up in that same place, getting it. norm was to get married. You don't think anything else, or you don't explore yourself enough. But now that there is, and again, the world is small. India, when the question that Chris is asking, when the world was small, or when India was completely isolated from the rest of the world, it was a different issue. Not now. Now the awareness is immense. People who are saying it's a disease, something is wrong with them. And the other thing, but in saying that, as I think I mentioned it to Ash previously, the educated people also question it. So the question that they will ask, they will not say that it is a disease or something, but they can come up with questions saying, how did she know, or has she tried? Like,
Yeah.
how does she know this? Like, we don't try to be straight. Like, we don't go about sleeping with people and trying to, oh, okay, I enjoy with men, so I am straight. No, we don't do that, right? It's
Yeah.
exactly the same with the other one. You don't have to go kissing people or sleeping with people to sort of define yourself. It's
Yeah.
just there. It's like a norm. It's like a fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I would add is the question is valid, and even in our Western societies, even in Australia, I'm not sure which. I think Queensland is just Queensland probably hasn't banned the gay conversion therapy. I think there are some states that are still allow it, even though it's not taken place. But there are, so it's right here in our backyard in Australia, that these misconceptions can exist, and certainly a lot of people in India as well. So, and hearing all of you talking about different things is quite right. I mean, in this day and age, you can look things up. It's not a disease. How do the heterosexual people know that they're not homosexual? Have they tried sleeping with men or women to find that out? So there's a lot of stuff you can actually talk about that, but it boils down to the fact that it's about acceptance and openness and visibility. I mean, we have a lot of that here in Australia. India's just starting to come to. I mean, India has that, but not in the way that we have it here. So those
Absolutely.
misconceptions are always around. So I think it's about education. It's
Yeah.
about an understanding and actually telling people in different ways that this is definitely not a disease at all.
That is a really good point, and I would like to see your perspective, Govind, on this. I know that you are a spiritual man. Yeah, just what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think it's a really fair question, because I think a lot of us growing up would have thought, do I have a disease? Is something wrong with me? So I think
Mhm.
it's a very natural question. We should ask this question. We should share it. We should talk openly about it. And I think when we ask the question, our starting point is, oh, well, it must be not unnatural because you can't procreate. So it's a disease. Like that's how we're arriving at this disease idea because it seems to be contradictory to nature.
Mm.
But how I would say is that, I feel that there's two parts. Is it a disease and is it a choice? These are the two things that a lot of people ask. But people who go through gay conversion therapy or any kind of therapy to try and cure the disease find it very, very hard, very stressful, and often end up, quite mentally harmed by that process and worse off than if they started. So I just want to caution any parents or children thinking about this, that the supposed cure, can sometimes be more harmful than the position that you are in. So that is one thing to remember. And when you see that in any part of society, it's likely it's not a disease. If the prescribed cure is not fixing it, then I'm not sure, and it's making it worse, I'm not sure why. So that is one thing. And the choice part is just one thing I think is good to address at the same time, is that a lot of us who live openly now as queer people, that's not an easy choice necessarily in the world today. Like, you do have to come across so much stigmas, a lot of sufferance, a lot of acceptance, a lot of trade-offs. Sometimes you lose family, sometimes you lose your support network. So I also can't see how people could make a choice that's that devastating if it wasn't part of who they are. So these are my feelings about it, as someone who's asked myself those questions.
And while
uh,
we are on that, I would also like to show the next question, which is sort of related. Like, is there a religious aspect to not accepting a same-sex relationship? You can go Govind if you
Uh,
want, or Deepak. Yeah.
Look, there's definitely a religious aspect. I mean, look at the fundamental Christians. So the Christians, for example, are dead against it. Now, so that is coming from religion, where they reject being gay as part of what is not on with their religion. So religion does play a role. If you're talking about,
So
say, for
for
example,
us, does it play a
for
role?
a Hindu religion, I mean, you can go back and look at examples of how Hinduism is much more plural in the sense it's incorporated so much of that, whether it's the concept of Ardhanarishwar, or you can go back to stories from Mahabharata where Krishna becomes a woman, or there's so many examples of this thing where it does come into religion. So religion can and does play an important role in this. Um, so yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would echo that, Deepak, as well from my side. I feel that um, religion, Western patriarchal, Anglo-Western religions have had a big role in the world in changing our value system, all of us. And so, whether we are Indian or we are from the southeast of China, or we are still influenced by Western Anglo-religious constructs, and they are very much, as Deepak says, heteronormative, and they rule out the possibility of same-sex attraction. But really, if you look deep down in our Puranas and a lot of our old literature, we have one of the most accepting, open, acknowledging environments for not just sexuality, but different ways of life. The poor person and the rich person, the person who has disability or doesn't have ability. So um, it's unfortunately, I think through colonization and our own approach to ourselves now in modern India, we have really made it difficult, and it's a part of history. But I'm not sure. There's a documentary that Stephen Fry in the UK did where he travels around the world and he looks at what it's like to be gay or queer in a lot of countries, from Nigeria, and he ends in India. And when he arrives in India, the moment of truth he has is he says that of all the cultures I've seen in the world, this is one culture where I think fundamentally they have everything they need to be able to accept this more than anyone else. Everything they need. But the message is, are we using everything we have? I don't know, but we have everything we need to do it. So,
So the
Just an
problem with
interesting thing.
exception, sorry.
mhm.
I'll just very quickly share something. I mean, few years ago, I went to the Kona
The
Khajuraho
temples,
temples.
Khajuravas,
As
yes.
as we all know, they are most amazing. And I was bent on. I mean, we know there are some lesbian imagery that's very prominent and common for Khajuraho, but I'd never
Mhm.
seen a gay male. And I was there for a week, and I found so many references so easily in that
Mm,
time when temples were being built to love and all sorts of love.
mm.
This is
So
now
beautiful.
incorporated. I mean, they're 800 years old. At that time, the society allowed different forms of relationships, whether with
Mm,
male to female, or male or female to female, and it was accepted. But I think as the society has grown and developed, we've become more puritanical in terms of our own sexuality, and I think that's reflected.
mm,
And then, of course, colonization plays another role as well. So I think as the societies have developed, and we've actually become more and more puritanical about this, but not earlier on. The earlier societies were much more open to actually all forms of sexuality.
Yeah.
So Hinduism is quite evolved in saying that. It's just that due to colonization, I say that all the time that the Britishers came and just distorted everything. But anyways, then again, we can't keep blaming them for years and years and years. We can come back to our own senses sometimes. Like you have
very
to.
true. We
Like
have to
when
take
are we
some
going to wake
ownership.
up? Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to take
Now
ownership.
it's,
You can't keep
yeah.
blaming them for every
No.
second thing. So we
Yeah.
have
And
all
it's,
these, but it's still we're sitting
mm,
in the same dark place. Seriously.
that's so true. And it's interesting when you say that, because the British, yes, they might have brought the laws into India at
Yeah.
least, but they have repealed those own laws in their own country.
Yes,
We have the
correct.
power to do that.
That's
So,
correct.
Exactly.
like, this is about ownership, like you say, money. It's our problem today, and we
Yes,
have
it
to
is our
solve it,
problem. We
right?
can't
So,
blame them. We have
yeah.
to be a bit more
Mm,
better.
yeah.
If
Yeah.
we also
Um,
look at like Sorry, this is just a bit of trivia there. If you look at timeline, even before British colonization in India, we had Mughal Empire, and we had other uh, empires, and being gay, being homosexual was a common practice back
Hmm.
then. And we
Hmm.
have stories. And if you look at even right back in like fourth century, fifth century, 15th century, there have been some scriptures found in even Arabic or Islamic writings. And I was watching a documentary, and they've actually found some writings that depict that homosexual activity is okay. So it's really more on how one interprets the religion. A
Yeah.
lot of it also depends on that.
Yeah, it's so true, Sneha. And I feel I love how you say that it's how you interpret it, because now sitting in my position today, I feel I'm more Hindu because I'm queer. You know why? Because I feel like I can acknowledge my being is very complex. It has desire, desire is such a part of Hindu mythology,
Yeah.
so I feel back in the day I thought I was less Hindu but now I feel like I'm more Hindu because I'm able to ask who I am. I'm able to, do all those things that Hinduism values,
Yes,
the
true.
texture of the being, all of these things. So when you look at it that way, you feel, oh, it's actually, I feel more Indian, you know.
I
So
think it's really a good opportunity to understand where we all came from as a civilization and look at that. Yes, we became a regressive society in some sense because of colonization, but our generation can really look at our previous civilization and see how open and accepting we were of diverse gender expressions and sexualities, and not really judge anyone. It was also an interesting thing that I came across recently, that if someone judges you, it says more about them. They are not happy
Absolutely.
with that aspect in their life. They show their insecurities when they judge something in you.
Yeah.
So I'm actually quite pleased these days to be an observer and be like, okay, so I know you are not happy with this aspect because you're judging me on this. So yeah, just another bit of trivia there.
On that note, I think someone is echoing uh, what your message as well. So Jitendra had said, one of my friends, she's no more with us. I'm sorry for that. Uh, used to give the best reply to people who used to say to her, I don't like this lesbian something of yours. Uh, how can you call yourself a Hindu and at the same time be a lesbian? Instead of going into long arguments with such narrow minded people, she used to just say, you don't have to like it, you don't have to be okay, but okay with it, but you have to respect it. You have to respect my individuality. Wow, that's powerful.
That's very
yeah,
powerful, and I think that also talks about the topic we started off with, or we were log kya kahenge, and I don't know how many of you know the song log kuch to kahenge,
कुछ तो
logon ka
लोग
kaam hai
कहेंगे लोगों
kehna,
का काम है कहना.
logon ka kaam hai kehna. So I mean, there can be so many arguments, and we've all lived through that we're testament to our lives, and we deal with it. Even now we deal with it. So there's not just one answer. I think you have to be strong about yourself, and then you'll find all the answers that you need to give to the people, whether it's about this is right or wrong, or is it based on religion, or all the topics that we discussed about. But you just have to be strong about it. Unfortunately, even now we have to deal with this, and you have to be very strong to be able to deal with it.
True.
Yes, absolutely.
mm,
Absolutely.
Speaking of log kya kahenge, that's a very interesting point brought up by Deepak. I feel there are very few factors uh, that would have or can destroy a human being's life more than this phrase log kya kahenge. Like we really destroy our lives, living in fear of what the society would say, but really, who is society? Like
Hmm.
from you or your parents, who else can really feel your pain? People
Hmm.
can listen to you, they can gossip about you, but you are the only person who's going to get through life. So just
That's
just
true.
look and say what makes you happy, and just be
Exactly.
consistent.
And the other thing I also want to say is parents where they start feeling that the kids are their property is also a problem.
Yeah.
Like, no, they are not. Like, I would say that we have the privilege of bringing these people in the world and trying to sort of enhance their lives in whatever way we can. Whatever they become is up to them. We can't force them in one direction and wait for something to happen. What nonsense! I just don't
Yeah.
agree with that. So, like, if I have accepted, because I have accepted, my family has to accept. The pressure is on. They can't do
Yeah.
anything else. And
I
when my
want
daughter decides to get married, I'm going to go to India and get her married. So again, pressure on.
that
Who
was the
cares?
next part I wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
Money, its acceptance, right? There's so many factors: religion, society. They're very intertwined as well. So we all went through our own journey of acceptance. And you have a very interesting point, interesting perspective, Mani, because you accepted your daughter. So yeah,
yeah.
can you tell us more about that?
So when she came out to me, the first thing I did was I sort of, so again, as I mentioned to Ash before, so she wanted me to go and sort of represent her to the rest of the family, especially the father, right? So I said, no, that's something that you have to do because he's your father. He needs to get that news from you. If he reacts differently, then I'm there. But
Yeah.
if he's okay with that, then but the news has to come from you. So that was the one hurdle. So that's one part. So that's the main one. So the rest of it is fine. So one day she got the opportunity, and I sort of coaxed her to tell, and she did. So my husband, he, I can say not conservative, but he has different thought process. So because I'm so open and so out there, accepting and whatnot, he doesn't have the courage, I would say, to say negative about it. But he went quiet after that for a few days. And I said, okay, what's happening here? And then he said one thing, that please do not discuss this in the open forum. I said, okay. But we dished him again. We made a YouTube video about it and out in the forum. And then I said, oh my God, that's done again. So I betray everybody every time. Anyways, the same thing happened to my sister. I called her and I said, okay, my daughter Ananya has come out like as a lesbian. She said, oh, please don't rush, don't do anything impulsive because everybody is scared of me. I could do whatever. So they go, don't do anything and don't be impulsive. It's okay. Just give her some time. I said, she's taken 19 years. Excuse me. Like, how long do you want her to take? Now you need another time, 19 years. That's for your acceptance, nothing to do with her. She's done her work. And I said, no, nothing's happening. It's accepted. It's all done, dusted. A lot of people, and one of my friends who's a doctor, she came out and she asked me that is it because if you have differences in couple, like if me and my husband, if we are not getting along, is it that something that has influenced this? I said, seriously? Is that like, how do the people even think about these ways that it is because the husband wife is fighting or they're having a divorce, the kids decide to be lesbian and gays and whatnot? What nonsense! I mean, relationship can happen. The same thing happen in that relation as well. So
Yeah.
it's nothing
Yeah.
different. It's exactly the same thing. But
Yeah.
I've
It's
seen one thing through my experience that because I accepted her so openly, nobody has the guts to say anything. They
Yeah.
all shut up. They
Yeah.
don't even discuss it. Like it's a subject not to be discussed. They just have to accept it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And
and
And that's
that is so powerful, right? That and yeah, Govind, before you go, I want to show this question, which
you
is
know
very much on point on what we're talking about. So, if our closest friends and family are fully accepted of the way we are, how important is society's point of view to our lives and identity? Like,
so society is again made by us. So the friends, so what is society? It's not a separate thing. Society is us. So if
yeah,
I'm accepting, I'm starting a society here. So I'm accepting my family is accepted, that's a society. And then because I've accepted, my friends have to accept that that's society increasing. And
yeah,
then bit by bit, it will be a community, it will be a nation, it will be everybody accepting. So
yeah.
Or
it
we'll
has
just
to
take
start
take
from us.
take, take another example. If we were all in India and your family has accepted you, but you may want to think about whether you take it to your work, and then what might be the right point of doing that. So I think there is a caution. I've never been an advocate to say you have to come out. You have to
No,
come out.
me
You
too.
It's never that. It's
Never.
about what you're comfortable with, what your circumstances are, how you. So I think you do need to think about these things. So
Safe.
the question
You
is
have
still
to feel
valid.
safe. You
Yeah.
have to feel secured,
And
especially with
while
your
you're
parents. Yes.
absolutely right, people like us make up the society. It's much larger than that. So say if you
Yes.
were in an Indian context, and yes, the people are gay, families are accepting, friends are accepting, but they may choose not to be open
Yes.
at their work because that could be very, very detrimental to their
Different.
career,
That's
for
correct.
example.
That is correct. So I always tell people, like after my channel, my video as well, a lot of kids contacted me and said that, "Well, should I come out to my parents or this or that?" I said, see, again, you have to find that safe place before you come out. So if you feel that you're staying in that same house where you do not have the independence of earning, or you're still living with them, and all the expenses are being taken care of by your parents, then please be sure that if you come out, who knows? Parents sometimes could be crazy. They just throw you out of the house. Then what? Like, it doesn't work. Be a little
Yeah.
bit diplomatic, be a little bit intelligent, and be very smart about it. So come out when you are in your safe place, when you know that, like how Sneha did it. So she came
Yeah.
out when she was safe, she was in her own space. She knew even if they decline or they do not accept, it doesn't matter. I can still survive. I can still live happily. I have this place where I can. And that is what I promote, more or less. I don't tell people or anybody to just, like, come out. Like, seriously.
Govind, Govind, what has been your
Yeah,
uh,
it's such a fascinating conversation. I might start, Money. You mentioned before the privilege of having a child pass through you. It's not your ownership, and I experienced that as a father. And I often feel like, they are here for a temporary period of time, and they pass through. But the thing I meant to say is that when my daughter was in utero, my mind had only wished that she would arrive safely. From there, every parent, if you ask any parent, when your child was in utero, what did you wish? They won't say, I wish that my child would marry a so and so, or would have this diet, or have this religion, or go and do it. No, at that basic human level, they only wish that the child will be safe and arrive well on this earth. Now, after that, we start adding all these layers, and I don't know how it becomes that by the time the child is 18, they must marry a man or a woman, and all these other, but we forget that feeling of when that child, and everybody has that. So I always invite parents, anyone who's listening, or parents to be, if you ever have a child, try and connect back with that feeling that you have, at that time, because that is the most basic desire between a parent and a child. Try not to overcomplicate your desires for the child, because that's where it really lies. That would be my thing. And the other thing is, I love this conversation about society and your nucleus, your family and your friends, both very important. But I think one thing we can all do is to express acceptance as much as you can. So if anyone knows someone who's queer, it might be a nephew, it might be a niece, it might be a friend of a friend of a friend, make a phone call, send an email. This is how we will create this societal change. You may not have a child, you may not need to come out. You may say, okay, how am I going to change it? What shall I tell my friend? Just think, is there anyone to whom you can create a more open world, a more accepting world? And the more of us that do that, that society starts changing. And so work on your nucleus, and then, as Mani says, it'll
Grow.
transpire.
That's true.
that is truly beautiful. We have another question coming here. Great discussion. Sometimes parents and family are going through their own journey of acceptance, letting go of old dreams, and they might come around eventually. Which is
Yes, I'll quickly say something in that, because what happened when Ananya came out? Uh, I mean, I'm not, but my daughter is very pretty, right? So, and she's very feminine, delicate looking. So not the general people who, like, they have it's like, it's a set of mind that if she's a lesbian, she has to be of a certain frame. She's not. She's very delicate looking, very pretty. The first thing my husband said, "Ah, damn it! Now we can't even marry her to a rich man." Because that was something he was looking forward to. Even if she does nothing, at least we can get her married to a rich man, and that will settle everything. I said, yeah, bad luck. Can't
But
do
he
that.
can marry me to a rich man, Mani. I'm quite happy to get some more money. That's fine.
I remember, Deepak, when you said your parents prayed for a son. I said they prayed too much. They got two.
Yeah, no, no, that's another part of
They
the
prayed
story
too
as well that I
loud.
didn't go into. Yes, you're quite
Yeah.
right. You're quite right.
They prayed
Um,
too much. So, anyways, she can get married to a rich woman. Like, what is this? What is this notion? The man can only be rich. What do you mean by that? We can be rich. Women can be rich.
but look, I mean, I came out. Well, I didn't come out to my family. My sister in US, who I had come out to my sister, and I thought she'd be much more understanding. Well, wasn't that wrong? That was, uh, 25 years ago, 26 years ago, and she outed me to my family. So it's been a rough ride for me. I have stuck to my guns, and I've kept, and I've taken my partner to meet my family, etc. But log kya kahenge? It's only to my family that I am out, but not to the very extended family. I'm still enigma as to why haven't I got married. So, and I choose to keep it to myself for my own reasons. So look,
Yeah,
things can be rough as well. Things can be different as well. But I think again, just some last words from me. I'll be running out of time. Is I had to be true to myself. And
true.
there is a cost to be paid for that in our society even now, all these years later. And I hear these stories, and they're very visible. So, but it was I could not have lived with myself had I lived a wrong life, an untrue life, and I wouldn't have wanted to make any other person's life misery as well.
That's true. And be proud. Like the
Oh,
point
I
where
am proud. Don't you worry about that, Manny.
seriously, be proud for who you are. Like seriously, I feel like whenever if anybody questions it, I am the first one to come out. Like nobody has to answer or say anything. I'll say, "Oh, my daughter is a lesbian." Everybody shut up. Like even if they want to whisper something, they can go to a different corner and whisper because you
Yeah.
can't.
But proud, it's such a lovely concept, I think, that you both landed on. Pride is, I think there's a reason why the queer community adopted that word,
That's
because
correct.
Absolutely.
right, and when you think about all this conversation we have, disease, all these negativity, and this community has
And
gone through
shame,
big
like,
things.
the
Shame.
community has been
Mm,
shamed for centuries, and the
mm,
shame that we grow up around the stigma and taboo of even talking about, sexuality in general. So yeah, like, yeah, the word pride is
mm,
powerful to actually shackle all those generations of
Well,
shame.
mm.
it shocked me today that Switzerland allowed same-sex marriage, and I had no idea that Switzerland did not have it. I
Yeah,
was
think about
absolutely
yeah.
Mm.
shocked that they have only just done it today. Good luck to them. That's fantastic. But my God, I was shocked.
Mm.
Yeah, true, true.
While we are on this topic, there's a question that's come through for Govind especially. How did you convince your parents to accept your partner and be a part of your marriage?
Yeah, it's a good question, actually. It was a very long journey. And we decided that, but so I told my parents when I already had a partner. So, in a way, that was my security. And then I could have a conversation about love, not sex. And that's one big difference that people struggle with. But to have an abstract conversation with your parents about who you are attracted to, nobody feels comfortable, let's be honest. So with the partner in the picture, it was easy to say, look, you can now see what I mean. I'm in love and I have a relationship. So I tried. I only came out after I met Adrian. Um, but we decided, we put on our fridge a little list, and we said this is going to take minimum 13 years. Let's just guess that it's going to first they'll go through grief, then they'll go through this. So as a kind of way of dealing it with ourselves, each phone call we say, oh, where are they now? Are they up here or down here? So we had to bind together, and it may not be a partner, but it might be a friend, and say, I'm going to tackle this, but I'm really not going to let it get to me. And I we know what that trajectory is. It's going to be very difficult. So we slowly, and one thing we were very careful not to do is to never judge them, because my mom grew up in a small town, and she had an arranged marriage at the age of 19, 20. And we always said, I've been, at the time I was 25, 26 when I came out, and I said, I've been gay for 25 years, or I've known for at least 20, 20 of those years. She just found out yesterday. So if she takes as long as I took to find out about, to accept
That's
myself, then she needs another 20 years. So if you actually adjust your expectations to say that it's difficult for others too, and apply some compassion to the other journey, it's painful. You have to be very, ready to soothe yourself and soothe others. But we allowed it to take time is probably the answer, Saleha, and did it, just slowly and steadily.
Govind well said, it's been 32 years and it's
Right.
still hard.
Still hard, yeah.
It's still not going.
Still getting there. Yeah. Yeah, maybe
And
that
that's
list on
okay.
the
And
fridge
that,
should keep going
I
on.
resigned. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got what I've got from them, and that's how it will stay.
Mm,
And I don't put much pressure on them to go an extra length or more. It is how it is, and that's
mm,
okay. They've made me and my partner welcome, and for them, for their generation, their background, that's
mm.
enough, and that will have to be, despite much more that I would want from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautifully
Yeah,
said.
true.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So there's another question for Sneha. Sneha, you mentioned that religion is open to interpretation, and we have become a regressive society when it comes to gender inclusion. In your opinion, what has caused this hypocritical situation?
That's a really good question, Chris. Um, So when I said, we've become a regressive society, I was referring to the time of colonization. So really, like our civilization can actually be marked by two worlds: pre-colonization and post-colonization. So if we look at our civilization before the Britishers came to India, our society was still quite open and accepting, and not just accepting, actually celebrating people of different genders, and that's there in a lot of scriptures, and it's marked on the temples, and it's there in a lot of scriptures of languages. And what happened is, towards the 16th 17th century, we had some white male philosophers who brought in the concept of binary genders. I don't think many other factors would have ruined humanity more than this concept of binary genders, wherein the philosopher said, oh, there are just two genders in the world, it's male and female. There are multiple other genders. And what happened with having just two genders, it naturally invalidated presence of other genders, which were actually celebrated, and not just in India, in many other countries across the world. So the United Nations has published a facts sheet wherein, from the beginning of time until the recent centuries, they've shown the acceptance of diverse genders and sexualities in different regions around the world. And being, from a diverse sexuality or gender was actually celebrated. And when I said we've become more regressive because we adopted everything, that the colonizers gave us, few things were good. And like everything, like every experience we go through, there are some good things to learn from and the not so good things. I think we just hung on too tightly as a society, as a civilization, to all the things that white people did or said was good. Now, some philosophers and some policies that were brought on by colonization has adversely impacted everyone across the world. And now that is why I said it is the responsibility of our generation to really look back at where did our civilization come from, what have been our values, and to look back and say that yes, we were such an open society, we were such an inclusive society and diverse society. Let's go back to our history and embrace ourselves truly.
Sneha, I would like to add, I think another really important modern concept is about the fundamentalism in religion. And I think currently what happens in India with the rise of BJP, and that's playing a devastating role in narrowing down society yet again on some very regressive lines. So let's not all put it onto the colonizers. We are quite perfectly capable of implementing that all by ourselves, and we're doing it right now.
Yeah,
Very
absolutely.
true. Yeah.
Mm.
There
And
is,
could I
there is,
just add? Oh, sorry, Ash.
yes, absolutely,
If you need to,
absolutely.
yeah, please let. Sorry. With on gender, one thing I often say is I feel that uh, gender is like the flat Earth phenomenon today. So, a long time ago, if you told somebody that the world is round, they would have said, "Hello, look out your window. The Earth is flat." And they'll keep walking and walking. They say, I don't understand what you mean. It cannot be round. And the society could not see it in any other way. And you gave arguments, or scientists would say, oh well, all of this, the arc of the rainbow, all of these things. No, can't accept it because I can't see it. I don't believe it. And we were stuck in this mindset for so long as a whole society. And I'm with you, Sneha. I feel that we have, as a civilization, humanity, we've just stuck in this mindset of gender is binary. But I believe you me, I feel that one day, and it might be millennia later, we will look back and say, I cannot believe human beings thought the gender is so simple as 0 and 1, or male and female, just because that's all we could see. And that's exactly what I feel. And I just ask us to think, do we want to be stuck in the flat earth view for too long, or do we want to accept the reality, that the world is round, or gender is complex,
On that point, there's also a very relevant question that came through. That is, how do we deal with the parental pressure to have grandchildren for them, and then the stigma of having children in a non-heterosexual relationship? Will our community, society, accept children of LGBTQ couples as equal one day to children of straight couples? That also comes back to accepting for who who we are, and I'll let you guys speak on that.
Like I feel that why are we waiting the society to accept? Let's say accept ourselves first. We do what we want to do, and they will accept. Like, why are we waiting for them to accept and then we come out? What nonsense! We just come out, and they have to accept. That is it. We are here. Hello, and then
But
like,
the answer
what?
to for me that I mean absolutely, Manny, I completely agree with you. But the answer to that question right now is it is difficult. It is really
Yes,
difficult, and it's not going to be easy. And again, it comes down to as our own relationships, our same-sex gender relationships become more accepted, visible, respected, just like any other heterosexual relationship, so will that respect and love will fall onto the kids. I mean, for a long time, gay people were not allowed to adopt, or the adoption was so much more difficult. So it's a difficult thing, and the answer is not easy. It is going to be difficult. I mean, and I think Govind should speak. He's actually got a daughter, so I'm sure you must have thought about this topic as well in terms of how accepting would she be to go to school and have two daddies. I mean, those things are real, and it's not easy. It's not easy, but it becomes easy as we come out and our relationships are accepted, more and more family, friends, workplace, societies, and that's where the children's question also becomes to resolve itself. But I'll
and
leave it to Govind.
also just before Govind, also it's I think a lot of responsibility is with the parents. So like even the same-sex parents, if you make it an issue, then it is an issue. If you make it a general accepting thing, it's a normal norm. Like if my daughter chooses to have another kid in future, and they do not, you don't have to hide these things that okay, two mamas is the normal thing, and suddenly they come out in the school and they realize, oh, other kids have daddies too, why don't I? No, you keep the picture always clear and transparent. I think transparency is a big key here. So we don't have to hide things from anything. And when the more transparent you are, the better life becomes. I feel that way in all aspects, because we start because if we question that, or we start thinking how will this play or how will that play, yes, we can plan certain things, but then in saying that, we just take one step at a time. We don't have to look at the staircase and be anxious or afraid. How am I going to cross that? No, no, just take one day at a time and do the right thing and be transparent. Do not hide things. Do not think like, gee, just be truthful to yourself and to the society, to everybody around you. Do not hide. The minute you hide, that means you've not accepted it. The minute you start questioning things that, okay, how will I do this, or how my kids, or can I have kids, or why can't you? Nobody needs a man to have kid. Nobody needs a woman to have kid. We have surrogates here. What is happening? People are doing so many things. What are we waiting for? We can do whatever. Like, just take one step at a time. Let's not rush.
Yeah, I think I saw two elements to that question. One was grandchildren. And so this whole desire to have grandchildren, I always think that just like we mentioned, like Mani said, the expectations you have of children, and the story around, the feeling in the uterus, it's not even about sexuality, like your child could be infertile, they may not be able to have children, your child might die before they're able to reproduce. Like, as parents, let's forget sexuality and look at what is our core value if we are asking that our children should bring us grandchildren, right? So we're not actually, what is our core value, what are we actually asking for? So think again, is what all I'd say about that grandchildren comment, whether or not, sexuality aside. But the second bit about raising, as it is hard, it is tough. We live in Brunswick, which is a very progressive part of Melbourne. Yet I have not seen another gay couple with another child outside. I know they exist. Maybe they don't want to come outside as much as other couples. Maybe they don't want to be in the playground because with the other children. So I know it is very hard. We face that on a daily basis. But I think there are some beautiful things about same-sex parenting and families. And one thing is that same-sex families are all built on generosity, not genetics. And so that is a proud message I have for my family and my child. And I will cannot wait till the day, she's only 1.5, so I can't, she won't even understand. But if I put her on my lap, I can't wait till the day to say, darling, you are the product of the generosity of the human race. You can only exist because people are willing to give each other something that they don't have. As two men, we cannot have a child. So we had a wonderfully generous woman who decided to have a child for us. And she's the product of that generosity. So I think that is one beautiful thing about queer families. And the other thing is, statistically, it is shown that queer children end up being quite a lot more successful and resilient, children of queer families, than children who are in so-called conventional families. Now, you may say, so these children are going to be disadvantaged, but actually, statistically, they're more advantaged. And I'll ask why. And I don't know, right? So I'm not a scientist, but I think the reason is that they have to learn to deal with adversity and to be in an odd-shaped family. And so they grow stronger. Is the person who was born in a palace, who had all the money and wealth and who had all the everything at their fingertips, are they likely to be more resilient than the person who went through hardship? Probably not. So I feel there's some beautiful things about queer families, and the story it tells about what humans can do for each other, to experience love and affection. So yeah.
That's beautifully said, Govind. Well done.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Deepak.
Well,
That's
on that note,
beautiful. Can I just jump in and say, thanks a lot, Govind, for sharing your story. That was really beautiful. And
Well,
listening to stories of people like you, really, that gives me hope. And even I'm at that juncture of my life wherein I
Mm,
recently realized that, yes, I want to have kids and I want to have
mm,
my own family. And thanks a lot for sharing your story. And just on that question, last question, I can very much understand where that question comes from, and where we all come from, the South Asian diaspora. You know, uh, we've literally been grown up in majority of dysfunctional families, and if I may say so, and we've grown up in conditional love. Like, parents would say, "Oh, we would love you if you do this, if you be a topper, if
passion.
you study this, or if you get married to so and so, if you have grandchildren, and that too, like we want only boys as grandchildren." So we've literally grown up in dysfunctional families and parenting, and built on conditional love, and surrounded by guilt and shame and stigma. So literally, it's a call to action to our generation to take this on us and really unpack all of that and question everything that we've grown up, question the social conditioning we've grown up in, and ask the questions back to society. Why are you asking me that? Who has given you the right to ask me such a personal question? It is a very personal question. It's a personal journey of a human being's life, right?
that is so true. And I just want to show this last question. I know I've been saying last for a while, but Govind said, "Thank you for sharing that," which is something. Uh, Really resonated with your message. Adjusting to your expectation is so key, and often that can be difficult for us to do as a kid, as we have this expectation that our parents have to love and accept us unconditionally. I think letting go of that expectation was the hardest part of my journey. what would be your advice to others struggling with this? And this is something that we spoke about in when we met initially, about living with rejection, living with the fact that we will sometimes not be accepted. So this is the last question I want to talk about. I know we are out of time, so yeah, I'll open it to the floor.
See, again, acceptance is something I do not have scarce. So I would suggest people who do lack in, like people who are not getting that acceptance, find that special person. As I think somebody, Deepak or Govind, somebody mentioned this. So people who are accepting, so people, we create this bubble and we start supporting each other. So if people need support, they should have some sort of support. So talk to somebody, call somebody who can support. So that, see, again, when a lot of people tell you that you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you start thinking that you're wrong. So there has to be some sort of positive assertion. What am I saying? I cannot pronounce that word. That's okay. Assertion, yes, where somebody tells you that nothing is wrong with you. So if you can find that somebody, it could be in your friend circle, it could be in your family, it could be somewhere else, whoever. So even people from my channel contacted me, so many of them contacted. So that's their support system. They can call me anytime. Or people who can give them that support, just telling them that nothing is wrong with them. And then their journey can start, and then they can start growing better. So I feel that supporting each other would be the best way to, start acceptance in the society and grow bit by bit.
You know,
Neha.
this can be really tricky as well because many people grow up to be people pleasers. They grow up living life outside to in, and by that I mean listening and doing things that others want them to do. And personally for me, that was also a big part of my living in denial because I used to think, okay, I am supposed to grow up, study this, be this, do this because this is what is expected of me, and I wanted to be just a good Indian girl. Uh, and then I realized that okay, this is not really working. I am not happy listening to others, and guess what? Society's expectations just do not stop at your marriage or having kids. So you know you have to take a call to really pause in your life regularly because in this day and age of doing more and being more, we forget to be in touch with ourselves. It is really important to check in with ourselves. How are we feeling in our life, in our relationships with our close people, and kind of reflect on that if things are not working out, kind of reflect if you are happy in your relationships and see if the other people in your close relationships are as giving to you as you are giving to them. It should be a healthy dance in love, you know. And when it comes to our South Asian families, it could be a lot on conditional love. So and a lot of it actually takes the form of control and abuse. So when we become adults and when we grow up, it is a good idea to take stock of the situation and regularly reflect on our lives and identify the people who are bringing your energy level down or up, and being close and surrounding yourself with people who have genuine interests at heart.
That is that is so true. Govind, would you like to give any last piece of advice on that?
Sure. Yeah, I'll try and be practical. It's so hard, isn't it? How to deal with this. But there's maybe two things I'd say. One is if we are expecting unconditional love from our parents, what can we do to demonstrate that unconditional love? This is very difficult. So, big warning. So, even if they disown you, or they treat you differently, can you the next day see how you can still treat them the same? It's very hard. But I find that when I've seen other young people, when I've said this, and then they've implemented it for 3 or 4 years, their parents have changed a lot because they have seen the child demonstrate to a higher degree than the parent is capable what unconditional love is. And parents learn from their children a lot. more than we realize. So that's one practical tip I would say. And I say 4 or 5 years because, as Deepak mentioned, it's a long journey. But just think, they may treat you differently, but how will you still treat them the same? And the mirror is very powerful. They start seeing what they can start, how they should be. The other thing I'd say is support yourself with a really strong network of people, whether you know them or not. The internet is a fantastic place today where you can reach out to people you don't know. And I assure you, if any of us today would receive a message from someone on the other side of the world saying, I'm struggling, I wouldn't ignore that message. I mean, our community is very supportive. So
Yeah.
so find a role model or someone, or build a bit of community to fill some of the gaps that you will experience from your parental love and others. Have friends of many generations. Try and have older friends and young children. Look after your friends' children. Find friends that etc. Build yourself multi-generational friends around you, even if it's for a period of time, uh, as you migrate through this journey. And you will find that some of the gaps, not all of them, you will miss your parents' love in some ways, you will miss but some of those gaps will be fulfilled in other ways. Somewhere you can go for dinner on a Sunday afternoon that someone of an older generation will cook a meal for you and say, darling, I love you. And I'm cooking for you because you're worth it. Will not make replace, Amma. It will never. But it will give you something that will give you the power to proceed. So these are probably the only two practical tips. I think everything.
So if one door
Uh,
closes, another one will open. Keep that
That's
in
correct.
mind.
That's
You
correct.
know, and don't be afraid of rejection. It's
Mm.
something you have to deal with. But as we've all been saying, find a safe place, find people, friends who can support you in this journey. It is a journey. Outcomes are not always known. We can't. But just be strong. Have people that love you, as Govind is saying, and things will change.
And take yourself as advocates. You are the people carrying the very big responsibility. There are
Exactly.
so many people looking up to you, so please do your part.
And
On
may I just
that
add
note,
to that, like
yeah.
with every rejection, take it
Mhm.
as a positive
Yes,
choice that you are choosing to accept your true self, and you should be
Mhm.
so damn proud of that.
yes, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we are running out of time. So that was a beautiful conversation that we had. And if anyone out there is a LGBTQIA youth struggling, if you want to have a conversation, I'm sure we'll all be happy to
Yep.
have a chat. You have our names now. Just try to reach out. We are happy to support in any way. And yeah, so hopefully
Be
we'll
proud
come
of
back.
who you are.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll come back. Thank you for all your comments. See you guys later.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
See
you.
you
you.
Thank you
Thank
guys.
you
for
so
Have a
having
good
us.
much.
Thank
day.
you